We're going to be installing this beautiful, excuse the mess, but this beautiful tongue and groove pine you see here. All right, guys, first we're going to start in this closet back here. We're waiting on, we don't have all the wood, we're waiting on some of it to come in. So we're doing areas that we have the length of wood for, because I got it all calculated per room. So, you know, how many boards, 16 foot, and how many of 12 per room. So anyway, we're starting here. Because y'all won't see it, the wood should be here by then, but we're going to run these like back walls first. Plus this would be the easiest place to start. It's just one short wall, get everything going, get in the groove, and then we can move on. So we're going to start from the bottom, go up. We're going to put our first board now through the face and through the tongue for the first board, because down where we're nailed through the face, we're going to have trim molding covering it up. So then after that, we're just going to nail through the tongue, and I can show you that. So I'm going to set up right here. I'll get some time lapse. May even set it up out here. But I get some time lapse of it going up, and then I'll come back and but I'll show you what I'm talking about as far as just going through the tongue. If you've already done tongue groove, you already know this is just entertainment. But if you haven't, this is you know how most folks nail it up. So I'm going to set up at this angle, and I'm sorry for this wall being in the way. I'll do some more whenever we get out here in the opening, you know, where you can see everything. But this is just where we're starting the video, and where I'm going to do this first detail. Then the rest of it, it's all be nailed the same, and you'll see. Oh, and I'll also see, because these will be full boards, but when we get to this in here, there's going to be multiple boards down here, and I'll talk about how we're going to stagger it, because we're not just going to do short or long, short, long, short. We're not going to do that and have all the seams skipping. We're going to lay it a different pattern, and I'll show you when we get to that. And we have our one stack of wood here to start off. So what we got a couple wedges here. I'll show in a second ago. You start off on each side and you put it up under there and use that to adjust just a little bit on your first wall and get it slightly off the floor and make sure it's level, you know, because you can move the wedge in and out and make sure it's level and get that one on there. But on your next wall, you use your wedges here, A, to keep it level, but also B, to make sure your groove, because we got to drop this down and make sure your groove lines up with the one on your first wall. Like we did right here on these, as you see going up, perfectly even. And that's what it looks like. All right, that's it. So this room is finished and turned out really good. As y'all can see there, I saw how we set the height of it with the wedges, and then obviously with that you measure from the groove, like where the top board sits down on there, you measure there up to where the box starts, and that's where your line is there. And then, the rest of it would be notched out of that board, and obviously you measure over where the box starts and ends on each side. And then on the next one up, you measure from the board to the top of the box, so how much you need to notch out of the bottom of that board for that one. And then like over here, it kind of split the difference. So you just know how much of the top of this board to notch out, and then the bottom of this board to notch out, and it's nothing to that. But there we go. So here I gotta do this. We could have went up as we went. And if we just cut the end of these boards that we use here off, it'd have been the same. But what we did is we just went ahead and run these. And so here, because that door is jammed all the way up over here, I'm gonna start here and go down. And I'll just have to face nail it instead of nailing through the tongue. But the molding, like from the door casing, is gonna cover that anyway, so you won't see the nails. Now to finish these walls, I'm gonna use the same thing I used on the beam, and I'll show you that in a second. So if y'all haven't seen the beam video, if y'all haven't seen how I built this beam, y'all can check that one out. But I'm gonna use the same stuff for that, which is this Minwax oil-based polyurethane semi-gloss. And I'm gonna roll it on all this and get it the same, just to have a coating over it. So once I get done with this, the only other thing I'll probably film, because all this is basically the same. I got 16-foot boards from places I need it. It's over 12 foot, and the places 12 foot and under, I got 12-foot boards. So really, the only other place I'll film is in here in the living room and kitchen, because we're gonna have multiple pieces, and we're gonna have it staggered, where seams are, and I'll show you how I'm gonna do like that on these walls. So the nail gun I'm using here is a Metabo, the HPT series finish nail that shoots 1 inch to 2.5 inch 16 gauge finish nails. And we're using 2 inch. These are the nails, they're 2 inch nails. These are the Fashion Strong. I got these at Harbor Freight. I calculated up, all the boards and all the nails I would need, and are pretty close to it, plus a couple boxes. These are 1,000 count, and these are half the price of what you get at like Home Depot or Ace or somewhere. So that's why I got these at Harbor Freight. Plus, I think I had a coupon too for whatever % off. So, I got them a lot cheaper there. So that's what they're using. They're the straight nails. The straight nails. They have the angled gun, and it's a little more expensive. And I don't know how much what the nail prices are, but the gun itself is a little more expensive. This one I think was like 90 bucks that I bought. Give or take, a different place you get. I think Amazon had it for like 90 bucks. But I really like it, the ease of loading. I'll do a full review on it later, but you can bleed some air if you need to there. And it's an adjustable, which way the air blows out when you shoot it. That's nice. I'll do a full-on video. I use this on the beam too, but I'll do a full-on review on this. And I have a Metabo framing nailer I'll do a review on too one day. But I just wanted to show that. All right, guys, so that's how she looks. Again, nails will be covered by the molding, but the lines lined up good. Everything's good. This room is completely finished, or I say room, closet, whatever. It's completely finished as far as the walls. And what we did there, I don't know if I mentioned it, if you could tell in the video, we measured what we need from there to the 10, cut it out, set it in there, and then took a block and a hammer, laid it up there and hammered it where it just rolled it on in there and gave it a good tight fit. So like that side, that looks really good and tight. And then this side, but there she is. This whole room is done. I think it looks good. I'm working on this hallway here, and I will show this real quick because it's, you know, something a little different than what I did on the beside the doorway in there. Be the same. And then some of the other areas, which, you know, when we get to like corners like that and the fireplace again in here, I'll show you. But run into a particular situation here. For example, here, I can just start here, run all the way across, and then up here, run all my full boards. And then again, by the doorway, run those down like I did in the bathroom. But right here is a little different because you got a pretty good bit of wall on each side. And you can take short pieces and just stack them on each side, but then when you get up here, they may not fit in the grooves on both sides. So what I'm doing, I'm gonna put one full board across the bottom and get it leveled out because they have to be even with each other. Then I'm gonna trim out the doorway here. And then after that, I can stack my pieces on each side. And when I get to the top, they should line up really close, if not perfect. Of course, you know, even one board is a little bit different thickness or widths, some places, because you can tell the grooves may be slightly off here in a couple of spots. That's the closest way to get it all lined so that when I go a full piece across here, it lines up, and that's what we're gonna do. So I got my first board all the way across, nice and level, nailed down. Now I'm gonna trim right there, open that up, and then start going from there on each side. So that wall, I'll show you the progress on this wall. If you can see, that's how that turned out. Turned out great, doing it the way I did it. And now I'm working over here, and I'm doing basically, I'm running the top because I want them to line up. These, the door casing again, is kind of like in there in that closet. So I just run down and face nailed it. Here, the door casing won't quite cover it, but I nailed it all the way to the end because my next board that butts up right here cover the nail there, and then I'll be good there. But I'm also going to do the same here. I'm going to do this end first, the same way as this, and then I'll do this wall last so that it covers my nails on each end there. And up here, I also mentioned, like on that last board, we had to tap it in, wedge it in. If it's not quite sitting all the way against the board over here where you want it, like this, it had a little gap. So I took my wedge, put it in the gap and drove it in with a hammer. Dropped that anyway, and it moved it over flush against this wall where I wanted it, because, you know, I still got to put this wall up. So there we go. I don't have enough to nail to here, so I got to put a stud right there. Just you see how thin that is. So I got to put a stud there. So this wall is a little bit more tricky. I had to measure over where each of these things hit and how far up, and drill your holes like on the toilet one. And then for this, you know, drill a hole. And of course that, now we're doing the light fixture up here now. You gotta drill a hole there. So here's a tip, y'all. See all these rings up in this ladder here? And you wonder what they're for? Hey, this cup, there you go, fits perfectly in there. Somewhere for your drink. So we got all in for the shower here. Started from the bottom one up. We got here, of course we had to cut this section out and rip down for that. Now I don't know why, but the shower manufacturers made the back slope and then go flat, which is absolutely dumb. So what we're gonna have to do is take some white caulk and fill that up. Run your caulk tool down there and smooth it. This side's even a little bit worse, but it's the same way here. Now here we just started run a strip like that, went up to the top, same way with this side. Now you can do two ways here, and I'll tell you which way we did. You can do kind of like this, where you got a whole section and they're ripped. But what we did, because if you do that, then you got to go down here, and you'll see all your nails face nailed. But what we did was started with a strip, just like the back, and just tapered this up even with that. and then went up, of course, drilled out for my drop ear, my shower. But then here, we started from the bottom and went up, so you didn't see any of your nails. They're nailed in the grooves, except for your very bottom, obviously, but your floor trim will go there. And then up here, we cut one exact width, slid it right in, and we just have a face nail there, but you know, it is what it is. We may have some kind of corner trim we can cover after we put our wall here. We're gonna put a board here ripped on both sides, and we may have some kind of trim, like you see door molding, to cover the edge of this, and it'll cover them nails up, and that's how it'll look right there, and it looks real good and smooth, so I can work with that. And also what we can do, say like we couldn't nail through here because the shower we nailed into the top of this board. If you want to fill in the holes, we take some sawdust from where we cut with the miter saw and the dust collection, mix it with some wood glue, fill in the holes there, and then sand it back off, and it'll be the same color, basically like wood filler, but it'll match a little better. So that's what we're gonna do there, just so you don't see them couple holes, but turned out pretty good. I'll get a bigger view here. It's coming along real good, man. I like it. Oh, and we're gonna do this wall first before we put our outside piece, and to make sure these grooves, you know, the grooves line up with this here, I just put a mark even with that with a square, which I could use a level or square, whatever, and then you can line it up, this wall with that mark, and go up. Of course, now it's gonna be a little different because this piece is cut off, but we're using one solid board here. We're using one solid board here on the end, not strips. So your seam, you won't really pay attention to your seams looking at it. So once they get here, they'll be slightly off there. But like I said, you know, you see this side, you won't see the seams. And then when you're on this side, because it's a solid board, you won't see those. But so I'm working on the bedroom wall here, the first wall. Of course, got my boxes cut out like normal. You know, we did in the bathroom. But I'm cutting out for this window. So I got it marked out on each side here, and I got to cut across and cut the top half out of it just to leave that little strip there. So about to get to that. Give you guys an update in here. So we got done with this room, and I'm not filming every room because I don't want this to be a super long video. And in here we got plenty of windows. We got 4 different windows, 2 door casings, and plugs and stuff. So, and seams, that's why I'd rather focus more in here because it's got more stuff to show. So I'm gonna focus on that, like I said before. And here, you know, I just want to give you a quick update and show you how we're coming along and looking pretty good here. The last part will be obviously the door casings. I wanted to show this real quick. I'm working on the laundry room and I got this called away. This is the air box return, the air return. So I'm having to cover it up. So what I'm doing here, and a lot of people just cut it straight, put some corner trim or whatever on it, but I don't want to do that. What I'm doing is I'm going off of this, which is level. So then I'm cutting my pieces here, and the wall's going here, so it's going to cover this gap. But I want to cut, I'm cutting 45, and I'm putting the back of the 45 even with this edge, which is level. But I'm also checking it here too, so that it's, you know, and basically using my level to get this line straight too. So the back may be slightly off, just a hair on where the end is. So then when I come on this side, you know, a 45 up to here, and it'll have a good 45 angle here, so I don't need any corner trim. And if I got 1 or 2 sticking out just a little bit, say, I don't know, let me just throw this up here for reference. So let's just say, you know, I get this nailed down to say this corner sticking out just a hair over, I can take a sander and just run right down that and smooth it, and you'll never really even notice. It'll be pretty much, you know, like it was that way. But that's what I'm doing here. So then on the top, I can run all my pieces here, and it'll be kind of like this. The top will sit over the edge of this, and I'll just take me like some trim molding and go across here to cover where that box is at. And this here, I'll show you in a second. The top piece will be cut off flat with this. So then this piece here, I'll measure and cut it, rip it off, and it'll go in the groove, and then the bottom will sit nice and flush, and I'll show you that in just a second. Okay, so my measurement here, I just put it on there and drew a a line and measure it up to the line. It's 2 3/4. We're gonna rip the top off. Get my level, because I gotta go with a little bit taller level now for the this end here. Level here, and it is, with that piece, it'll be almost the same width as one of these. I'm sorry, I can't see, being one of these whole pieces here. It'll look like it's one whole piece going across. All right, now all I gotta do is just tap it in.
Just tap it in. Just tap it in now. Hey, just tap it in.
All right, so looking at that, looks good. This will be flush. So I'm gonna have some, like these pieces of face now, there's gonna be door trim that goes all the way down there. So that whole piece will have door trim, and then I'll just come across the top with that. So that's how that turned out. Well, on this side anyway. So I'm gonna go ahead and get this back side done, and probably the top done too. That way my wall pieces sit down flush on top of this, so I don't have to worry about cutting it, getting it nice and straight with the wall. So I'm gonna go ahead and do this side and the top, and then do the walls in here. All right, the laundry room is finished, other than the trim and all, of course. So this is how that box turned out. But yeah, I got in here where my power box is. The way this was, it just would fit this bottom board and wouldn't touch. I had a gap right here, and the cover, I put the cover over, and it almost pretty much showing at the bottom. So I ended up having to put this little filler piece in there, but the trim does cover just the nail there. So when it's cold outside. So we got a little more to go. We've been doing pattern, we've been going is a 16 foot, 8 foot, well I'll say it's 32 inches, but I'll say 3 for the sake of the video, 3 foot, and then a 12 foot. And you start back over 16, 8, 3, 12, 16, 8, 3, 12, and that gives a good pattern of the seams not being like skipping everyone, and you ain't got to measure everyone to stagger them. It just, you know where it's gonna hit, and it's all nice and spread out. You can see it ain't too bad as far as lining the seams up. But we got about one more up here, and then we're gonna have to start, I got my angle finder, we're gonna have to start cutting the angle on the top of the boards, on the first ones up there, on the end boards over here. But I got that angle finder, and we'll show how we're gonna do with that. there, we got that. So I wasn't paying attention. We didn't start our angle with the 2, so we had to hold it up there and get it level with the bottom there. It's a lot longer cut there. Got a little gap because of how that extra thickness there was, but the rest of them should be good and tight. We'll just take some caulk and run up that. It's the same color as this tin anyway. For these next ones, because it's got to go all the way down to this corner here, we're going to use a piece we cut off and line it up and mark our angle there, and just use the level from there on. So right here, we started using a skill saw to cut the corners because it was straighter and faster, a little better. But here, the way it's gonna fall, we have nothing to nail to, so we had to screw an old board behind there and then put a piece of 2x4 in there, 2x4 in there to be flush with these to nail where it's gonna land. And we're gonna have to notch out probably to go around that because it won't fit up behind it. But we'll see what we can do with it. I'm about to take a break from the walls and start coating some of the walls that are finished already, like this closet back here. We don't have this room done yet, which is really the last room for the tongue and groove. And these longer boards, the 16s are hard to do myself. These are the 14 foot, or they're 16, they cut 14. And I did them myself, and I can do the 16, it's just a little more aggravating. And I gotta do coating anyway. So while we're at it, we're just gonna start on this room in here, start while I'm by myself. And once I get my help back, we'll finish this up and then obviously move on to coating all the rest of the house too. And I got a little help with me today. I got the little girl, she's gonna help. Here, you got a little makeup all on your cheek. But anyway, yeah. But anyway, she's gonna help me do some rolling. We're gonna use, this is what I used on the beam. It's an oil-based Minwax polyurethane and a semi-gloss. Yep. She got her little mini-sized roller there. And I bought 2 gallons. Really, it's gonna use more than this because I used about half a quart, a little over, just to do 2 coats on that beam. So obviously with all this area, of course that's brushing on, I'm gonna be rolling. So it'll probably be a little thinner on the walls than, because I brushed that on pretty thick. But anyway, so it's gonna take a lot more than 2 gallons. I didn't know, this is the last 2 they had at the time. I don't know if they had a 5-gallon bucket worth of it, which I'll probably go back and try to find, because I'm sure they'll probably use 5 more than this maybe. But the reason I'm using the oil base, I guess a general rule of thumb is if you want it a little bit darker, you use oil base. If you wanted to keep it lighter, you use water base. Of course, eventually it's all going to darken down anyway over time, no matter what you use. But I do want it slightly darker than this. I don't want to leave it quite this light. I don't know, I just like oil-based stuff better than water-based. So that's what we're about to do. We're about to pour it in there and get started painting. First off, I'm gonna just run a piece of painter's tape across the top of this trim just so I don't get it on there. Ideally, I have a sprayer. I would love to spray it on, but I do not want to overspray and get stuff all over my ceiling and my lights. So we're gonna roll it on. So I'm just gonna run some tape around the edges there, and then we're gonna start rolling these walls. So I got it taped all the way up. I also swept in here just so any loose dust and foam from the spray foam doesn't blow up the air when the heat kicks on or whatever and end up sticking to my wall. So if you got a disposable, you know, bucket tray, whatever you want to call it, I'll have a bigger one. That way you don't have to refill it so much. Instead of having to clean it out with mineral spirits or whatever every time. And when it gets dirty, you don't have to worry about getting stuff in your paint or your whatever you're using. Got a trash bag, which this was actually a little too big, but it'll work. That way, I say too big, it's bigger than I need.
That's what she said.
Put that in there. You can put your paint supplies in there and then take it off so you don't have to worry about cleaning the tray or getting dust in your paint. And, you know, when you pull it off, you can throw your trash in there and haul it off. So it serves two purposes. So it's rolling on pretty good. I happen to take my brush here and go swipe through the grooves there because obviously the roller doesn't get down in the screws in the tongue groove. And then the roller, when you roll this stuff on, notice it gets some bubbles, which they smooth out a little. But I'm taking my brush and swiping back over them real quick just to smooth them bubbles out, the air bubbles. And then it's coming out pretty good. So. Yeah, now she gets to do some of it because she's tall enough to reach now. It's been about 6 hours or so. I'm gonna do a second coat. I think it says 4 hours. I have to double check that, but I think it says 4 hours. Yeah, I read the can, it says 4 to 6 hours, but it's been like 6. So, no, I think it's like 7 now. But anyway, that's how it turned out for the first coat. You can tell a difference. If you look in here, you know, kind of a little darker. In person, you can tell a difference in person. It's a lot better looking in person than it is now. You know, the first coat, the wood soaks up a lot of it, and it's kind of an uneven looking coat either way on the first one. The second coat usually goes on good, especially if you do a gloss, man. Gloss lays on like glass. But of course, this is semi-gloss because I just want a slight sheen on the wall. You know, I don't want gloss on my walls really, but so it don't lay on, or it doesn't give the appearance of being, you know, super smooth with the semi-gloss. Even though it's pretty, you know, pretty smooth, but. You know, I'm not gonna record the second coat. I'll maybe put what it looks like once it's done, but I'm gonna apply the second coat here and we should be good to go. All right, we've been doing this wall here. I didn't record none of it because I'm gonna record this wall, and the windows and the switches all the same as the other room, ain't nothing to those. But like up here for the door, we run our level across there to mark where to start that one, so they're all pretty level. And then up here, we're gonna do kind of how we did on this wall. We're gonna run a full 16. It's gonna stop here, notch out for this door, then do a half, and then a 3-footer, then a 12-footer, and then the rest of them go on from there. It should end up the whole wall. All right, we got this one nailed all the way down. We had a 16er here, and then whatever the rest of that was. Now we gotta do a 12-footer, but we're gonna have to rip it. So I gotta get some measurements from where the bolt groove sits down over the tongue there, and measure up to the 10, and we're gonna have to cut an angle so that the tall side touches. I'm gonna get my angle finder, find that angle to cut so that the tall front side touches, you know, that, and there's no gap. So we'll show you how we're gonna figure out how we're going about doing that. So. But I gotta come down to my 12-foot mark and just kind of measure my height on that here to so I know what to rip it. So I'm sure there's probably some kind of formula to figure it out, but just using my angle finder to help how far off the wall. It's not really gonna work too well. So I do know with my groove side on the fence, which is the way we're gonna be cutting it, you know, my blade needs to angle out this way. So I'm gonna try, it's really only like an 1/8 inch or a 1/4 inch, I should say, difference. So I'm gonna try a couple of little scrap pieces here, a couple of different angles. So I got a pile of scrap over there. Try a couple of different angles and get one that fits just right up there. And that's what we'll rip the whole board on. My width is 2 11/16. I'm gonna set my fence. We're gonna rip an angle and see how it turns out. So here's my test piece for the first board. And I took a picture of it up there and you can see how it fits. And some places I scooted it down through there, it's perfect. I ended up on 22.5 degrees and an overall length here of 2.5. And it fits good. Some places it's a little steeper of an angle than it needs to be, but that's better than not steep enough because then the back would be hitting before the front, so that's good. So I wasn't paying attention. I got to cutting these. Normally what I do when I have to split like a window right here, I'll cut, you know, the length out of a board for this side, and then out of the same board, cut the length of this one to put this side and do both at the same time so they're exact same height. So when you get up here and you run your one board, it lines up perfectly as long as you know you're level on each board. But I cut 4. Now thinking about it, what I'll do is measure and try to find some boards about the same width as those to come over here on these, and I'll also draw a mark over my level so I know if I need to cheat a little bit or whatever to keep it on that mark that way. And then from then on I'll just go with the same board on each side, that way it'll line up here. But just got ahead of myself not paying attention. All right, guys, that's gonna wrap up the video for these walls. We still got a lot of work to do in here, so excuse the mess. But as you can see, it turned out nice. I will say, if you wanna keep your wood a lighter color, use water-based polyurethane. But I wanted to get it a little darker like this. That's the kind of the look I was looking for, so I went with the oil-based. Man, they turned out beautiful, absolutely. And of course, we didn't sand. It turned out a little bit better had we sanded all the wall first before that. But that's a lot of work, and it turned out just fine. Just putting the urethane straight over that wood. And anyway, man, look at that. Look how pretty. Look how pretty that wood right there is. Anyway, we're gonna wrap this video up. We did the walls in there. They're painted. That's a separate video. I'll post that too. So that's gonna be it for this one.